Hello everyone, welcome to ChessNeeds. I am Arpan. I'm an IM elect with a peak FIDE rating of 24-23, and I'm really excited to present you an opening course today with some really interesting insights on it. I'll try to provide and make it as fun as possible with some real good insights and the history about the opening as much as possible. So today let's start from the story of the opening, and then after we will go through the real games and everything. So the thing that we will learn today is Sveshnikov, or also known as Pelican. So basically this opening was popularized by two famous players back in the 1970s, when the chess world was purely dominated by these Russian USSR players, and then came Evgeny Sveshnikov, I believe a teenager at that point, who took the chess world by an unconventional opening, took it by storm. And the starting position that we will that we address as Sveshnikov is this one, and e5 here at this point. This is the starting position of the Sveshnikov opening. Black is heavily weakening the d5 square, and what he's claiming in return is the piece activity and the utmost control over the center in a very lucid way. He's trying to develop his pieces as much as possible, as fast as possible, with tempos, and later on he will be trying to hit the center with moves like f5, which the ideas we will come down in some time. So this is the backstory, and basically this opening after Sveshnikov was resurrected kind of by Kasparov again early 2000s, or probably in 1990s, around that time. And in the modern time, we all know probably this chess world was taken a step back when this famous game, the famous world championship game between Caruana and Carlsen took place in 2018, and both the players actually, to the full chess world surprise, played Pelican or the Sveshnikov in all the games, in literally roughly all the games. And although the major classical section of the world championship turned out to be a draw 6-6 score, but later Carlsen won the championship with a 3-0 score over Caruana, and the last game that he bet Caruana in sorry guys, was in this Sveshnikov variation. So first let's take a look at this game between this infamous game of Sveshnikov himself. We will start from this position, I believe. Yeah, let's start from this position. Okay, I'll actually go through this part itself. So e4, c5 happened, knight f3, knight c6, d4, cd4, knight d4, knight f6, knight c3, e5. We come to the Sveshnikov variation, knight b d5. White is targeting the d6 square. It is trying to come to d6. Here we will play d6 in order to protect the d6 square, and white plays bishop g5, pinning the queen, and next move he is threatening knight to d5, and also he will be controlling the c7 square. But okay, we cannot allow that time. We play a6. Again, tempo is the most important factor in this opening. Bishop f6, gf6, knight a3, b5, and then knight d5, f5. Okay, opening is not our main, this game is not our main concern. Opening is, we will just glide through the middle game part a bit. Sorry guys. Came bishop d3, bishop e6, c4, queen a5, king f1, bishop captures d5, e captures d5, knight d4. The storm is just beginning here. And after pawn captures, the white knight went back to knight to c2, knight c2, queen c2. Now you all might think that this is an opposite color bishop position, the game is dull, there won't be any win. It can't be, right? We all knew this thing, that opposite color positions are meant to be slightly equalish, it can't be win. We all have this very conventional thought, but back in the 1970s there was one player who was breaking all the conventional norms, and here he started with move e4, queen to c6, king e7, bishop b5, and the storm just began on the board. Rook a7, queen e8, king to f6, and now you can imagine how the position took a shift, literal shift. Pawn to g4, rook to e7, queen to b8, king came to e5, pawn f4, check, king captures f4, king to e2, and okay, now you already know that this position has a feeling in itself. The king is right in the center of the board with the queens on the board. This is mesmerizing position, guys. You can try and dissect this position, but as we are not discussing middle game or not this game in particular, we will not be diving very deep into this game, but I can assure you that this position has a lot to explore, and it is one of the lesser explored games, I believe, because I didn't find one analysis on mega database, so it can for sure be analyzed by you guys, and you can even try to upload it on mega, and probably your game gets listed. And okay, rook f1 happened, fg4, b4, bishop g7. White kind of like the queens got exchanged, both sides got rid of the queens, and now black is left with a pawn up, and this is exactly what went on to give the result for white, for black. Of course, the pawns are rolling down now. This position is very much understood that this is winning. I'm not going any further. White has a double pawn on the a file. This won't even last very long. The three pawns in the center, the central passes, they are too strong, and of course d5 pawn does not have a real bright future, right? It's going off. So this is one game, and this is the history about Sveshnikov, the opening, not the player. Of course, the player was much more interesting in itself. And now we will look into a game between the two world champion contender and the world champion, the ex-world champion now, of course. Okay, guys, now we will look to the next game, the World Championship Rapid game number 3, the decisive game, the final game of the 2018 World Championship, which crowned Magnus Carlsen the World Champion again. Okay, so this game was also played in the same line that we were talking about today, the Sveshnikov variation: e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c d4, knight d4, knight f6. We know this thing. We are into this drill. And d6, and this move, the move played knight d5. This was the invention, you can say, or the new move, so to say, which was popularized during this World Championship full tournament. 7 dot knight d5, a very interesting choice by Caruana, which some people remarked that he wasn't very comfortable in playing, but okay, this is nowadays the major main line this has become. So knight d5, knight d5, knight e into d5. Here knight b8 is the move that we will choose and we will play, but Carlsen played the bit unconventional knight to e7. Of course, knight b8 was the game played in game number 10 of the same World Championship match. This was the rapid section, the tiebreaker section, you can say. Okay, so this game kind of went like this. We are moving a bit faster again, just to skip off the opening chaos, and we will check how the middle game part of this opening can be very, very, very interesting. Here is where we start. Black coming in with his pieces towards the king side. Queen f5, c5. White already started a storm. This was although a slightly dubious move, but okay, nothing is yet disrupted with this move. It's just starting off. Castle, pawn went to c6, b capture c6, d capture c6, rook to f8 happened. Here you can see a clear distinction of the pawn majority taking place in the board. White has a majority in the queen side, black has something in the king side. Queen came to c4, bishop to d8, a very interesting maneuver of pieces happening here. Again, we can see that, like the previous position, this previous game, this game also has a bit of a central dominance in this position. Here black played a very clever, okay, I believe you can already see it in the screen, but you could have, if you're just looking into the board, looking from the board, just take a pause here. You can take a minute, 2-3 pause and try to find a move, but okay, of course I'll show you the move. Bishop captures c7, knight c7, knight e5. White gains black gains some really good tempo. Here this is gone, white resigned here. Okay, knight c4 would have been a serious mistake, going to knight to e7, but okay, after king e7 there is no move special. Okay, knight e7 could be played, but queen f3, knight d3 is a checkmate coming. Rook h1 hanging. Okay, this position is simply gone. Not a checkmate, but yeah, it would be a checkmate in few moves. Okay, now we will go into the major opening section of this part. So we have already seen the redemption, 2018 redemption, so to say. Now to the opening. Okay, so okay, we'll skip the basic part of this thing, and this is the line. Okay, here I believe there are a few options. Here there is knight b3, knight to f5, knight to b5, three more major important moves. Let's just look into slight sidelines. Okay, so we are again starting from here. Knight b5, d6, a4. Little sideline, played not very often of course, but still an important move for us to listen. Okay, now everyone, we will look into the sidelines first. So here we are looking into 7.a4, the major sideline. Okay, there is of course bishop e3 and few other lines like knight d5 probably also there. a4 is one important line. We'll mostly check the important lines here. So a4, pawn to a6, knight to a3, bishop to g4. A very important move over here. We are attacking the queen, our target, not the queen, but rather a provocation of weakness with move f3, which white is more or less needs to play, not forced to play, but yeah, it's an important move. If bishop e2, there will be bishop e2, queen e2, and d5. We break the center open, and of course, you know, Sicilian in all variations, d5 is the most important square, the strategically important square, as Nimzovich would have said it, and we have gotten through it. And now black has got rid of all the positions, all the weaknesses in the positions. Knight on a3 is weak. We are having a lovely time over here. So f3, the major line for white. Now this, guys, is a weakness. Do you see it? If not, you can take a pause, try to see this. Okay, it's not a weakness like, okay, this is a weakness that we can see also. This is a very visual weakness. If you can see carefully, you will see that this whole line, the a7 g1 diagonal, is now vacant without any pieces, and it's our time. It's time for black to seize in. Queen b6 coming next, and we will have a lovely control over the board. Bishop c4, rook c8, castle, knight to e7. A very thematic idea of this opening. We have also seen this from the Caruana Carlsen game, the World Championship one. Knight e7 again, knight to d5, bishop captures d5, e d5, g6. We will go knight f5, knight to d4, bishop will come to g7. This is a very good position for us. Okay, you can say that white has a double bishop, but my dear, how does this double bishop help? The bishop on c4 is actually hitting the pawn. Knight on a3, out of the board. We have potential for h5, h4, knight coming to f5, knight to d4. We are of course not better or winning at this position, but we are, to say the very least, comfortable. Much comfortable. Okay guys, now we will go to the next chapter. Okay, now guys, now off to the next chapter. We will now look at the highlight of the World Championship. First one, of course, of the 2018 World Championship. Of course, the Sveshnikov we are already looking into, but the surprise weapon for white, which came into light after this World Championship match, move 7. Knight to d5. How it happened? e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c captures d4, knight captures d4, knight to f6, knight c3, e5. We know this. This is a straight up line that we are probably at this point mugged up with. Knight b5, d6, knight d5. What white says is this is a modern move, main move. White is coming to the square c7 with full control, and here we will make the very important move, knight to d5, e captures d5. Our knight on c6 is under attack. Now we have an important move to make, not knight a7. We choose out of this line. This is a very, not a difficult line, but I would say this is a line that is breaking some more principles, and we have at this point already broken some, so we don't want to break more. We are going knight to d8. Now let's state the plans in this position. If you see, white has a clear majority in the queen side. His pawn on d5 is giving him a good amount of space. He will play c4, c5 probably next, bishop to e3, and we Here with black have this very much exciting opportunity coming up of f5. We will play on the king side. We are coming down for the king. Again, the most essence of Sveshnikov, coming down for activity, for the king, for the kill. Here we will play white played c4. We will play bishop e7, a very timid move, first preparing castle. Bishop d3, castle, short castle, and here pawn to a6. What this does is attacks the knight, throws it out, knight comes to c3, and now we do the most anticipated for quite a while now, f5. We take control of the center, and here of course black has a better hold over the center with the e4 and d4 square and e5 square, 3 squares of the 4 squares in black's control. White has a space, but okay, black has the center. This position is roughly equal. The modern engines try to come up with some exciting new ideas for white. Nothing has sustained yet. Black has, at this point of time, all this while proven very healthy and like comfortable in all the variations, even in the new variations. f3 happened, knight to d7, king h1, bishop to g5. A very important move here to note, a very important idea of this Sveshnikov variation. We are exchanging our bad bishop. How the bad bishop is identified? By the central pawns d6, e5 are on the black color squares. Our bishop in 7 is also the black bishop. So it was slightly bad. Here bishop g5. We get rid of this bad bishop with the c1 bishop, and before something like this, if it happens in the board, we will play b6, stopping any possibility of c5. This is an important attention that we need to give to. We cannot allow our opponent to go c5. Queen came to c2, of course. How do I say it? Attacking the pawn on f5, trying for c5, but okay, we don't really care. We go bishop to c1, rook captures c1, queen to g5, and we will come knight f6, probably e4 next, and we are following through in the queen side. I believe this line I won't stretch more. This should do more or less justification of this variation. Okay, there are a few opportunities where white could have deviated with moves like f4 instead of f3 in move number 13, but okay, this would have weakened the central squares even more vulnerable and allowed black at least a passed pawn. Knight d7, we are holding down the tension tight on the center. Bishop e3 would be met with pawn captures, bishop captures, knight e5, knight e5, pawn e5, bishop coming to c5. We have the center under our control. The long diagonals are open now. This position, as the engine say, is winning for us, and you can see a sharp line like Sveshnikov can give you a winning position even in the modern day as fast as move number 16 if white goes even slightly wrong. Okay, now guys, off to the classical moves, or the major main lines. 7 dot, bishop to g5. Directly I'll jump to this position. Pawn to a6. We know the drill. We have to kick the knight off. We have to gain tempos. Knight a3, pawn to b5. Again, b4 is the threat. We are gaining tempos. Here an important move is bishop captures f6. White is trying to disrupt our pawn structure. We are not worried. Why would we be? We are absolutely fine. Remember, we don't go queen f6. We actually give up or give in to a white's idea. We allow the weakening of pawn structure, and what we say is, remember the major idea of Sveshnikov variation, pawn to f5. We are kicking in with this move, pawn to f5. Now f5 is a bit more faster, and probably we have two options of going f5 back to back. Once we get f5 captures on e4, again we have another f5. So now f5 is much more strong, and this is the essence of Sveshnikov. We will hit the center with pawn f5. Knight d5 happened. We'll start f5. Okay, here there are a few options. If let's say he captures, we will capture, and we have a healthy center. Okay, there's one important line, c3, trying to go knight to c2, knight to e3. We wouldn't get too greedy. Not pawn captures e4, but rather bishop to g7. We are going castle next move. ef5, bishop f5, knight c2, castle. And okay, we will move back, drop back the bishop to e6, following up with f5, and we should be doing good. Okay, next line, the bishop b5, the surprise line. So this is actually okay for white. White can play this, and black has also an important job of memorizing. I know it's a bit of a hard task. We'll try to memorize as less as possible, but yeah, we can't help it every time, right? We have to sometimes memorize, and this is one time we have to memorize. A b5, knight b5, rook to a4, attacking the e4 square, knight b to c7, king to d7, short castle, rook to e4, and yeah, this is again a crazy variation of Sveshnikov. It is meant to be crazy. Okay, if you don't like complete madness, you could have shifted something earlier, but okay, now that you have given in here, you have to take up the madness. It is all about the madness now. Queen goes to h5, knight to d4, logically defending the f5 pawn and making a way for the king on c6. Pawn to c3, knight check, e2, king goes to c1, king to c6. Now, as much as you wouldn't want to believe, trust me, this king on c6 is approved by the engine. They say this is absolutely fine here. And in fact, a move like, okay, we'll keep things here, but I'll just to illustrate, a move like queen f7, if white gets too greedy, we can actually try to get rid of the queens, and if not, we will get some development going, and this position is actually winning for us. We have the extra piece. The king safety is does not matter at all. We have the king's piece to us. Okay, now guys, after the next line, this will be variation without bishop f6. So again, knight b5, d6, bishop g5, a6, knight a3, b5, knight a b1. This line came in a very modern trend with great players like Giri and a few others popularizing it, and majorly there has been a very recent iteration to this move. Anish Giri launched a chessable course, lifetime repertoire 1.e4, and gave 91 in this variation in his course. And of course, a chessable course gets everywhere, and this move is now one of the important moves that we have to look into. Okay, Anish Giri himself has suggested this line. He is the powerhouse. He knows it all, and he suggested move knight b1. We have to take it seriously. There's no other option. We go knight to e7. We are preparing pawn to d5 now. a3, bishop to b7, e4 pawn under attack, knight goes to d2. We go d5, hit the center, break it open, e d5, knight d5, knight d5, queen d5. I believe we can keep things still here. We have, at least for now, diluted the center. There's no weaknesses which we started off with, which we claim which we signed up for. Now there's nothing as such of weakness in the center. We are far more comfortable here. We can now go bishop to e7, plan to castle. If he goes bishop f6, that will be actually in his disadvantage. We get the double bishop. The position is wide open, which will help us. If not, we'll simply go bishop e7, fall back with our queen to e6 or to d7. We'll go castle in short side, and we should be okay. Okay guys, now this is a brief of history and modern major lines of Sveshnikov variation from the black side. And we have, I know I have not shown, bishop g5, knight d5, the main lines. We will of course check that in our next course, in our next video. This line, knight a3, b5, knight d5, bishop e7, bishop f6, bishop f6, c4 or c3, the two major lines here. We will look into it, guys, but not today. We will look into it the next day. And okay, this is where I sign off. I believe you have taken a lot of things out of this. If not, I'm really sorry. This is all I had to share with you. This is all the knowledge that I had. Of course, this study will be made available once the second course is out. You can see it from our website, chessneeds.com. Go follow. You can subscribe for the newsletter, and the second video will be up there. You can scan the QR code and get the link to this video so that you can watch it later. Thank you guys. Thank you for the time. Bye bye. Have a good day.